Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our topic of discussion today is a comparison between the prevalent and dominant factory schooling model versus the integrated learning model as practiced at Unity International School. First, if we look into the background of where this factory model originated, you'll have to go all the way back to 18th century England. And because of the Industrial Revolution, schooling was also industrialized. And the schooling model we see prevalent today is based on that same factory model where children are treated like commodities and an assembly line is set up and grades are given. And it's not a natural learning environment. The reason that it was so acceptable back then was because there was a high level of illiteracy, and the Industrial Revolution required that more and more people would be produced to be working in menial jobs in factories. So this prompted the society to develop this model. But we have to understand that this model is severely outdated. It's obsolete. It was never the right model in the first place. It's not the way education has been taken place since civilization. And if we look at the prophetic model of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that is the actual true model that we need to be implementing and basing our schools on in today's world. So what is this difference? And if we could point out some of those salient features, it will make it much easier for us to understand and implement and also select the right schools for our children. So factory schools versus the integrated learning model schools, their basic fundamental difference arises from the fact that factory schooling is agnostic. It ignores any relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas ILM-based schools like Unity International, the basis of the institution is that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the central and core value that education is based on. The other major difference is that the pedagogical approach in factory schools is one size fits all. All students are given the same curriculum, the same approach, the same pedagogy, the same pigeonholed into certain expectations which do not suit them. So they're basically stuffed into that particular mold that the school demands of them. An integrated learning model school like Unity believes that each child is unique and caters the curriculum to their individual needs. Another very important feature is that factory schools are teaching-centric, whereas ILM schools are learning-centric. Teaching-centric generally means that everything is based on the fact that there's this process of teaching where the teacher imparts and broadcasts this knowledge or information to the children, and it's their job just to absorb it as it's been provided to them. Whereas the learning-centric model demands that the environment, the faculty, everyone is catering towards making learning easier, facilitating the learning process. So it's a reverse process, and we will speak more about it in another video in detail. In a factory model school, it's words and lectures, didactic, broadcasting, teachers standing in front of the class at the board, and everyone is supposed to listen and obey. Whereas an ILM school is based on mentoring and modeling. So as Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was the role model for his students, the companions, the Sahaba, the teacher today has to be that mentor, the murabbi, the role model for her or his students today. We have instruction in factory schools versus education in ILM schools. Information versus transformation. So the point is not to inform the child, but to transform the child. It's in factory schools, the teacher is a sage on the stage, What does that mean? That they're supposed to know everything. They're supposed to be know all, be all, and they dictate what is to be learned, what is not to be learned. Whereas in an ILM school, the teacher is a guide on the side. So the teacher herself is a student, and everyone is in a learning process, and it just makes everything so much more enjoyable and beautiful and natural. As we go along, we can study that in factory schools, the disciplines are disjointed. Social studies has no relationship to math. English has no relationship to science. And God forbid, Islamic studies or Islamiyat has no relationship to anyone at all. Whereas in an ILM school, everything is integrated. Disciplines are integrated and they relate to real life. Factory schools do not relate to the real life approach. Assessments in factory schools are all paper and pencil based, standardized testing, whereas with ILM schools, assessment is done in various ways, more authentic, more well rounded. It gives students an opportunity to express their intelligence and their knowledge, their abilities and skills in different ways. And last of all, the goal of a factory school is test success and employment. That's about it. Just to feed a capitalist enterprise, that's about it. Whereas the goal of an ILM school is the love of learning and total human development. Without total human development, the world cannot become a better place. You can have all the wealth in the world, but people will still be making life miserable for each other. So therefore, it is necessary all of us make a commitment to using and deploying integrated learning schools and making this choice for our children as well.